If you're doing blog SEO, search engine optimization with a blog, this recent commentary from Google will be relevant to you, especially relevant if you're worried about getting hit by a Google update, or maybe you are already getting hit. If you are making top of funnel content, answering questions with a blog, how, what, when, why, that type of content with articles, and you're hoping for traffic from Google, this will be relevant to you. This commentary that Google recently made will be relevant. And credit to Barry Schwartz as well for unearthing this. Barry Schwartz, of course, came on this podcast last week, episode 621 of The Edward Show. Barry Schwartz is the founder of Search Engine Roundtable and shared this great information, found this correspondence between this guy, Nate Hank, who's a travel blogger, asking Google search liaison Danny Sullivan some questions. So Nate asked, and this is on X, Nate said, "Danny, I have 2 questions for you. Follow up to our visit to Google's headquarters in October." So this travel blogger, this guy who is making SEO blog content, is publicly asking Google questions, and Google is responding. Question 1 is, by what specific date can we expect Google to do better at surfacing independent sites? And I'll give more context to that in a moment. And then question 2 is, when will Google talk with publishers about how we fit into Google's AI-first future? If you're listening, it's quote-unquote AI-first future, as in Google has said this themselves, that Google has an AI-first future. But how do independent publishers fit into this? So the first thing is, what is an independent publisher, if you don't know? An independent publisher, this is just a publisher that's not owned or operated by a major corporation. So it's not operated by like Amazon, or it's not Forbes, or it's not USA Today or something. These are individual creators, small businesses, niche publishers. And as a result, these websites typically have a lot less SEO power because they just don't have as much domain authority, domain rating as the competition. They have less quality backlinks. And so it's harder for them to rank for competitive keywords over the publishers that are owned by major corporations that just have more resources. And Google was really generous in responding to this guy, Nate, and gave a lot of responses, actually. Google responded and said, the first part we already answered last week. So the first part is, by what specific date can we expect Google to do better at surfacing independent sites? Google says it's what was shared on LinkedIn. So Google announced the March 2025 core algorithm update on LinkedIn around, I think it was a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And in that announcement, Google said, we also continue our work to surface more content from creators through a series of improvements throughout this year. Some have already happened, additional ones will come later. And remember, these independent sites, these are run by individual creators. Creators can mean a lot of things, though. That's something that a lot of people miss. Creators can also be video producers who are doing SEO with video, and I'll get into that in a moment. It doesn't just have to be blog owners, but that is a big part of this. So Danny Sullivan, who's representing Google Search, continues. In other words, there's no specific date because there's no one specific thing that the teams are working on to improve. There are multiple things because search has multiple things that are involved in ranking. If you don't know what that means, it means that there's a lot of different variables that Google will rank a website on. There's a lot of different things that goes into whether or not Google is going to show your content in Google Search. The post continues, there have already been some changes launched with that goal. Some sites may have benefited from these changes, others might not, but that's also because the sites themselves are all different. From the group you were with that came out and generously shared your time, not everyone is impacted by exactly the same ranking system. So this guy, Nate, he came out to the Google campus, and we'll actually talk about that in a moment. So he came out to the Google campus with a group, and Danny Sullivan remembers him and said, not everyone was impacted the same way that you were impacted. And then this post concludes, and Danny says, I certainly hope you and a number of sites that have been impacted despite having good content do see gains as more of these improvements come online. I wish they would happen faster. I do push for that, but it's not going to be one all-in-one update. And then the second part, as regarding when or how will independent publishers fit into Google's quote-unquote AI-first future, the second part, that's well beyond my level. This is what Danny Sullivan at Google is saying. That's well beyond my level. I see you have tagged 2 executives, so I'm sure they have seen this request. I think Danny Sullivan is very genuine when he said this. I think, of course, if you are an independent site and you are putting effort and thought into actually making good, useful content for searchers, and you're trying to give it to a way in searchers that is palatable and fast, of course you should be rewarded. At the same time, search behaviors change. Behaviors of people using the internet, behaviors of anybody changes over time. People get tired of things. They want new things. And Google also has to be on top of that. Google's a company. It needs to give people what they want. For example, lots of searchers, and we'll talk about this more, lots of searchers don't trust independent sites because independent sites have gamed Google so well. And as a result, these searchers are adding plus Reddit to their searches. They want their information directly from Reddit because they don't trust independent sites. And so Google started giving more and more search queries to Reddit. And now Reddit ranks it gets the third most amount of clicks from any website in Google search, Reddit, because search behavior has changed. Some conspiracy theorists might also say it's because Google has a partnership with Reddit, but the money that Google is paying Reddit, which is I think $60 million a year, it's not that much money to Google. I don't think that's really what it is. I think, if anything, the partnership came out of the fact that search behavior was changing. But this is hopeful news. It is hopeful news that if your site was hit by the helpful content update and you are legitimately making good content and putting effort into that, and you are a good player and you were hit because that did happen, this is hopeful news. So Nate, this travel blogger, follows up and says, can we take that to mean that these improvements will come by December 31st, 2025? That was question one. And then question two was, to whom specifically should we communicate with on how to survive Google's AI first future? And then name some names. He really wants to get on top of this. But this is a response about these improvements coming to independent sites. So again, the question was, will these improvements come before the end of the year, before December 31st, 2025? And again, another hopeful answer. Danny Sullivan, who is representing Google, says yes, with the important caveat that this doesn't mean all sites will go back to wherever they were if they were down from a previous peak. Our results have continued to change since 2023, which is when the helpful content update started, including showing more social content, for example. The results are going to continue to evolve. In addition, some sites that have been impacted, they should have been impacted. Some sites with great content and hearts in the right places still don't provide a satisfying page experience, which isn't a guarantee of top ranking, but it should be considered. But our systems themselves need to get better. It's not all on creators' sites that really do have good, solid content, and possibly those sites might do better than previous peaks. So some sites were hit that should have been hit. Some sites got impacted by the helpful content update because they were providing bad content that wasn't actually helpful, or they were trying to be helpful, but it wasn't helpful. That's basically what Danny is saying. And then others were doing it honestly, and they were actually putting good content, and Google hit them. Algorithms aren't perfect. Now, my bottom of funnel sites were not hit at all. I've literally, since putting up pages 5-6 years ago, my pages have been untouched by Google's algorithms. And I'll share that in a moment. I'll share why I believe that is in a moment. But there's actually a second part of this response from Google's search liaison, Danny Sullivan. Actually, Google's executives are paying attention to what creators, especially with blogs, are worried about in terms of how they fit into an AI first future. In fact, I can tell you, this was years ago. This was in 2023, before the helpful content updates started rolling out. I went on a Twitter space with an algorithm developer at Google. And I said, so this was right when ChatGPT, this is like a few months after ChatGPT launched. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense at all. Independent publishers are not going to want to invest in putting up how-to content because people are just going to get their clicks from ChatGPT. People are just going to go to ChatGPT or other competitors. And now actually what you're seeing is AI overviews from Google themselves reduce click-through rate by 70%. People ask a question, Google's AI gives an answer right there in the search engine results page. No need to click into the results, reduces click-through rate by 70%. So I think Google has theories on how creators will fit into an AI first future. You know what? I'll just tell you what I think. And this is probably, I would bet that this is what they think as well, which is that how-to content is shifting to TikTok, Instagram, and especially YouTube. And Google has YouTube. It can get its information from YouTube. And it can also do deals with TikTok to get information from TikTok, probably not Meta. But at the very least, YouTube is such a dominant place for sharing how-to information. And then there's Wikipedia. There's all sorts of places where Google can get info from. And I'll talk about this more in a moment when I give like my view on all of this because I'm going to give us a cynical perspective, I'm going to give an optimistic perspective, and I'm going to give a realistic perspective. But just saying right now is I personally don't think it makes sense to make top of funnel content. So there's one more part of Google's response, and someone followed up to Google and said, would the guidance for those of us that have seen no recovery from the Google Helpful Content update, would the guidance still be to work on other things? Or when things do get improved, are we going to be regarded as a lower quality entity because we didn't work on our site in the meantime since we were hit? So basically the question is, you got hit by Google's Helpful Content update or another update. You didn't make any changes to your site. And does that mean that if you didn't make any changes, you're not going to recover? So Google responds and says, no, that's not how it works. The systems aren't going to somehow decide your site or existing content is old or stale and not useful. I end up on older content all the time that's amazing. Search isn't like social media where you need to post all the time and so on. If you need a break from the site to do other things, you can come back to it. By the way, one of those October events, because an October event was shared, one of those October events is the one where we had a number of creators come out to the Google campus. I haven't really commented on that because the purpose of that was to really just get creator feedback from some of those who have been most impacted directly to people who are involved with Google search, like face-to-face in person. It wasn't meant as a type of PR event to say, oh, look, all the creator issues are now solved. And part of the reason I've not wanted to say much about that was especially not to give the impression that it was a type of PR thing. So Google had independent publishers who are hit by updates come out to Google campus, and this post ends, and this quote from Google ends, and it wraps up by saying, enough time has passed that I now feel comfortable making one key point. Those who came were incredible ambassadors for open web creators as a whole. They'd all had personal impacts on their sites, but they approached the events not just for themselves, but constantly spoke up for creators generally. I'm deeply appreciative of their time, thoughts, and ideas. I'm not alone in that within the search team. I do hope it will indeed lead to us doing better with open web content from small and independent sites. All right, so I promised my perspective. I said all these things that I'm going to talk about more, and this is what it is. So first, I want to start with the cynical view, and I want to give the cynical view on Google actually having people come out to their campus, creators who are hit. The cynical view is that Google needs to get people to continue putting out content to learn and train off of. Like I said, it doesn't really make sense for you to invest time putting out top of funnel content into a blog, putting resources to do top of funnel content in a blog if you are depending on SEO. That doesn't make sense. Now, if you are getting your traffic from elsewhere, then it makes sense. But if you are hoping for SEO, if you are making blog content with SEO, and that's what you're doing. You're answering how-to questions, for example. Search behavior is changing. AI overviews are going to take your clicks. Doing top of funnel content, it doesn't make sense. But Google needs information. Google needs these websites to keep on putting out this top of funnel content so they can learn and train off of for its AI. And so the cynical view is, come out to the campus. Look, we're going to show you that we're working on this to fix this issue. Please continue to invest in content and top of funnel content, and we're going to fix this, and we're trying to fix this. And then Google didn't turn this into a PR thing because it wouldn't help the situation by calling out all the people that were negatively impacted by the updates. That wasn't going to help the situation, but Google wants to basically show, hey, we're here for the creators, continue to invest in your blogs, we want to train off of your content. And then the hidden message is we want to train off of your content, but that's not what they're going to say. So that's the cynical view. The optimistic view is we're taking Google statements at face value. Google is trying to learn who is legit and who is not, and it wants to reward who is legit. And so if you are putting in good, thoughtful work into your blog and you're making top of funnel content and you got hit, you will rebound. And if you didn't get hit, you're not going to be hit. And that's the optimistic view. Now, the realistic view, and this is my personal opinion, is that none of this matters. First, look at the motives. Like I said, Google is going to take searchers' behaviors into perspective. It is going to give searchers what they want. Rather than try to fight the changing behavior, if searchers are not trusting blogs, they're not going to keep showing searchers blogs. If searchers start trusting blogs again, and blogs are giving good answers, Google will do its best to show blogs because it's giving good answers. If it's easier and less expensive to recommend Reddit, that's what Google's going to do. And that's the realistic view. Google is a business. And then there's a point that, searchers behavior, like they want they want Reddit, but also they're using AI more, and Google is focusing on being more of an AI first company. And like I said, AI overviews decrease click-through rate by 70%. And so if searchers basically are just looking for one quick sentence or a few quick sentences, they can get that from AI overviews. Or maybe they're going to get that from TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or ChatGPT, whatever. But they don't want to read a several thousand word blog on the topic unless it's something that they really want to go deep on. People think that Reddit is the third most clicked site in Google because Google pays Reddit $60 million a year to train off of its data. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's a lot of searchers legitimately put plus Reddit into their searches because they don't trust independent blogs for their answers. They trust Reddit a lot more. And now Reddit is being gamed, and then the behavior will change. Google will stop recommending Reddit at a certain point. This happened with Yahoo Answers. Yahoo Answers were gamed like crazy. Yahoo Answers showed up in every search engine results page. Now you never see Yahoo Answers. Behaviors change. The one thing that will work for at least the next 5 years, it's bottom of funnel. And I talk about this all the time on the show. I made an episode about it yesterday, targeting these low volume purchase intent keywords that pretty much always are overlooked. So there's just not enough content on them. And if you are an independent site and you're selling stuff, you target these purchase intent keywords where there's no competition, which is almost every purchase intent keyword. And because no websites are targeting these keywords, your site ranks. And what happens is these keywords are low volume enough that they don't get targeted. You just never get competition. And so you make a page and then you get conversions for years and years and years. And I believe that this will work for at least the next 5 years, probably a lot longer. Because again, these keywords are always going overlooked. And the thing is, you might ask an AI chatbot for a recommendation for a product. The AI is going to recommend your product because you are the one targeting these bottom of funnel keywords. Again, I talk about this strategy all the time on the show. You can also learn more. Literally, the Compact Keywords landing page, compactkeywords.com, explains in depth this concept and how it works and what a bottom of funnel keyword looks like, all of that stuff. All right, so what should you do? That's Google's answers. That is my perspective on the situation. What should you do? Number one thing, bottom of funnel. If you're selling stuff, if you're selling services or products, use bottom of funnel SEO landing pages, 400 to 500 word pages. You can check out compactkeywords.com to learn more about that. Really, it works. It works. I made a podcast yesterday about how literally the SEO subreddit never agrees on anything, but they agreed that low volume keywords are great, especially bottom of funnel keywords, purchase intent keywords. That's number one. If you want to continue doing SEO, don't do top of funnel, do bottom of funnel. Please do bottom of funnel. But then the second thing is diversify your efforts. I just watched a podcast from Rand Fishkin, the founder of Moz, who's a legend in the SEO community. And he talks about this too. He talks about how AI overviews are decimating click-through rates in the search engine results pages. Search behavior is changing. Having a top of funnel blog is risky. Put out videos, target your keywords with videos. Put your keyword in the title field of the video and at the beginning of the description field and write a long description for SEO. Have your videos syndicate everywhere. TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Make longer videos. And then use this to build engagement and topical authority for your site. Tell people to go to your site. Tell people there's more resources on your site. And eventually everything plays into each other. It's a flywheel basically. So you have these bottom of funnel pages and then you're also getting traffic and awareness from other places. This helps your bottom of funnel pages rank. Remember, like a lot of people think backlinks are everything. They are not. The Google leak revealed that Google is using a lot of engagement metrics. It's similar to honestly, TikTok is a great comparison. TikTok recommends the most engaging content. It has a bunch of different engagement metrics to recommend the most engaging content. Google is very similar and it uses Google Chrome. It has so many different tools to actually measure engagement. So if you're using social to build a brand and also have people go to your site, then you're going to be able to rank for more things naturally. Or you can also there are plenty of great link building strategies that are really easy. Submit to directories, use source of sources to get expert quotes, have those go to your homepage to build up the overall authority of your site, make linkable assets, make cool things that are shared or useful things that are shared. Literally, this podcast is a linkable asset. The homepage for this podcast is on edwardsturm.com. Gets shared all the time. Anyway, this is new news from Google. basically saying that it expects these updates to come by the end of the year. But I personally think doing top of funnel SEO on a blog is nowadays risky. There are so many reasons for that, as I shared, and it is just a way better strategy to invest in bottom of funnel. And lots of other experts are saying diversify, diversify, diversify. That is bottom of funnel. Nothing lasts forever. Behaviors change. But if you are targeting keywords where other companies are not properly targeting them, you will win. And I've seen that time and time again. And that is all for episode 630 of my daily digital marketing podcast, The Edwards Show. 630 days in a row doing this podcast. If you watched on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Please give a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And if you listened on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.